on this day. His Divine Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So we're reading from Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Adi Lila. Which was? Chapter 5. Do text 4. Yes. Sarva Avatari Krishna Swayam Bhagavan. Sarva Avatari Krishna Swayam Bhagavan. Tanhara Dvitiya Deha Shri Balaram. Tanhara Dvitiya Deha Shri Balaram. Sarva Avatari Krishna Swayam Bhagavan. Tanhar Dvitiya Deha Shri Balaram. Sarva Avatari Krishna Swayam Bhagavan. Tanhara Dvitiya Deha Shri Balaram.
Sarva Avatari Krishna Swayam Bhagavan.
Sarva Avatari Krishna Swayam Bhagavan.
Tanhara Dvitiya Deha Shri Balaram.
Tanhara Dvitiya Deha Shri Balaram.
Sarva Avatari Krishna Swayam Bhagavan.
Sarva Avatari Krishna Swayam Bhagavan.
Tanhara Dvitiya Deha Shri Balaram.
Tanhara Dvitiya Deha Shri Balaram. Sarva Avatari Krishna Swayam Bhagavan.
Sarva Avatari Krishna Swayam Bhagavan.
Tanhara Dvitiya Deha Shri Balaram.
Tanhara Dvitiya Deha Shri Balaram.
Sarva Avatari Krishna Swayam Bhagavan.
Sarva Avatari Krishna Swayam Bhagavan.
Tanhara Dvitiya Deha Shri Balaram.
Tanhara Dvitiya Deha Shri Balaram.
Vaishnavi.
Sarva Avatari Krishna Swayam Bhagavan.
Sarva Avatari Krishna Swayam Bhagavan.
Tanhara Dvitiya Deha Shri Balaram.
Tanhara Dvitiya Deha Shri Balaram.
Sarva Avatari,
Sarva Avatari,
the source of all incarnations.
the source of all incarnations.
Krishna, Lord Krishna. Swayam, personally. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tanhara, his. Dvitiya, second. Deha, expansion of the body. Shri Balaram,
Lord Balaram. Translation of purport by His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is the fountainhead of all incarnations. Lord Balaram is his second body. Purport. Lord Shri Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead, is the primeval Lord, the original form of Godhead, and his first expansion is Shri Balaram. The personality of Godhead can expand himself in innumerable forms. The forms that have unlimited potency are called Swamsha, and forms that have limited potencies, the living entities, are called Vibhinamsha. Let's read a couple more verses here. These two are one and the same identity. They differ only in form. Lord Balaram is the first bodily expansion of Krishna, and he assists in Lord Krishna's transcendental pastimes. That original Lord Krishna appeared in Navadvip as Lord Chaitanya, and Balaram appeared with him as Lord Nityananda. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Namodishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shcha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Paritana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubheva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripata Mahamande Shri Gurum Dinataranam. So the translation again. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is the fountainhead of all incarnations. Lord Balaram is his second body. So today we are celebrating the most auspicious appearance of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. As you can see, it has such an extraordinary position. It is the very first expansion of Lord Krishna as Balaram. It's considered that Balaram is totally and completely non-different from Krishna, apart of his skin color. Krishna is got a skin color of monsoon cloud. Balaram's complexion is whitish, and he is also considered the supreme personality of servitor Godhead, and therefore is considered Adi Guru, because the function, the main purpose of Guru is to train the souls that forgotten Krishna in this material world, train them back into the service of Krishna. The Guru, being in his original constitutional position as eternal servitor of the Lord, is the most enthusiastic to serve Krishna. So Balaram is that original Guru that sets an example of enthusiasm to serve the Lord. And through that enthusiasm and desire to serve, he manifests in so many wonderful ways. He expands as holy Dham of the Lord. It's considered expansion of Lord Balaram. He expands as dress and clothes of Krishna. So it's very, very close to Krishna, extremely close to Krishna, that Krishna's dress is considered expansion of Lord Balaram. And also in the Sankirtan movement, he also expands as the musical instruments that are meant to glorify Krishna. Therefore, we call Mridanga a Balaram Mridanga. It's considered non-different from Balaram, so Mridanga has to be very nicely honored and respected, so that Lord Balaram is nicely honored. So he's got this amazing desire, and as himself and his as the original form of Balaram himself, he always accompanies Krishna to serve his pastimes. And of course, this comes as Lord Balaram himself in a Krishna Lila. When Krishna descends from the spiritual world, Balaram always accompanies him as his elder brother. Also, when he comes as Lord Ram, then Balaram comes as Lakshman and serves Krishna as a younger brother. And also when he comes, when Lord Chaitanya appeared 500 years ago, then Lord Balaram comes as Lord Nityananda. And Balaram expands all the other expansions that are facilitating the running of entire spiritual world and the material world are all expansions of Balaram Nityananda. So all the Balaram expands as Chaturvyuha, Sankarshan, Vyasadev, Vasudev, Aniruddha, Pradyumna. These are 4 expansions that facilitate development of entire spiritual world. And there's another quadruple expansion with the same name. So all the Lord Narayans, predominating deities of unlimited Vaikuntha planets, are expansions of Lord Balaram Nityananda. And also for material creation, Lord Balaram expands as Mahavishnu. So innumerable universes pour out of Mahavishnu's body, and then they expand into Mahavishnu expands as Garbhodakashaya Vishnu in each universe, and as Kshirodakshaya Vishnu in every atom and every heart. And all this considered plenary portions and portions of the portions of Lord Nityananda. Just to understand the glory of Lord Nityananda. And Mahavishnu is so so great that simply in his dream, unlimited universes are pouring out of his body. And it's just a considered plenary portion of the portion of Lord Nityananda. So all of those expansions, because Lord Nityananda has got the same mood, Lord Balaram has got a mood of servitor. So all the unlimited expansions that manifest again from Lord Nityananda as Narayan, predominating deity of Vaikuntha planets, as Mahavishnu, and Mahavishnu comes as the Advaita Acharya in Lord Chaitanya, Lila, and all other different kind of Vishnu avatars. They all consider themselves just a servant of Krishna. Krishna holds the supreme position as the supreme personality of Godhead, the Lord of everything. But all this expansion, starting from Balaram, they consider themselves servitors of Krishna, and we can see that in Lord Chaitanya Lila, that all the different expansions that are still in a Vishnu Tattva is considered the supreme Lord, but they have a service attitude towards Krishna. So it is very important to understand this very special position of Lord Nityananda as the supreme servitor personality of Godhead and Adi Guru. In order to, we need to understand how to get the mercy of this Adi Guru, how to please the Adi Guru, so that we can also engage in our constitutional position. Because it's not just based on our own effort, where our own effort is required, and that is one of the ways how we please the Guru, please Lord Nityananda. We also need equally and simultaneously the mercy of Guru. And all the Gurus are considered the representations of Lord Nityananda's mercy and Lord Nityananda's love. They would consider the empowerment of the Guru to teach love of God is coming from Lord Nityananda, from Lord Balaram. And therefore, the disciple honors a spiritual master on this very high position because it's divinely empowered, because the spiritual master is divinely empowered by Lord Nityananda. So just a little bit about the birth of Lord Nityananda. He was born. Just a moment. Just trying to have a look what was the year of his birth. So approximately is considered he was born in the year of 1474 according to the Western calendar in the village called Ekachakra. And his father was Hadai Pandit and mother's name was Padmavati. So he was so beautiful and so attractive from very childhood that all the villagers just very, very dearly loved Lord Nityananda. And he was the natural leader of all the boys in the village. And since he was a very small boy, they used to enact the pastimes of Lord Ram and Lord Krishna. And the pastimes were so dramatic and so real and so beautiful that all the villagers just couldn't believe it. For example, once he enacted the pastime of Krishna and Balaram leaving for Mathura from Vrindavan, and Lord Nityananda was acting as Lord Balaram, and he was crying so pitiably in separation from Brijbasis that people couldn't understand, is it really distressed or is just acting, because the pastimes were so real. There's another time that Lord Nityananda enacted Ram Leela with all the boys. He was acting as Lakshman. And as you know, in Ram Leela, there's a time during battlefield when they were fighting with Ravan, when Lakshman gets struck and kind of loses his consciousnness. That's kind of as a pastime of the Lord. And then in order to cure him, they need to get this medicine. I believe it was from Govardhan Hill, wasn't it? The medicine that the Hanuman had to go, and he brought the whole hill actually because he wanted to make sure that Lakshman regains his consciousness. So he didn't want to get. It wasn't the case. Oh, wasn't.
Yeah, he tried to bring Govardhan and Lord Ramses for a different pastime.
All right. So didn't make it such
Yeah,
things.
the Martin,
Thank you. Thank you for correction. So didn't bring the Govardhan Hill, but it bring the medicine to cure Lakshman that brought him back to consciousness. So in that pastime, in that Leela that Nityananda was enacting, he also lost consciousness and nobody could revive him. And then the boys that were acting in that pastime, they got confused. They forgot that actually in a drama, because they couldn't revive Lord Nityananda. He was just completely unconscious. No matter what they did, they couldn't wake him up. And then the villagers started to gather as well, and the boys were crying, and the villagers are worried. It was like a very distressful situation. And then one of the boys remembered that actually he was supposed to be revived by getting that herb. So they started to continue with the drama, and they brought the mountain. One of the boys brought the mountain, who was acting as a Hanuman. They got this medicine, and then Lord Nityananda just came back to life. So there was so many pastimes like this, and the villagers sometimes would ask him, "How is it? How do you know all these pastimes so well?" And Lord Nityananda said, "These are my pastimes, and I'm allowing you to see them." But because villagers were under influence of Yoga Maya, and they had this very special relationship with Lord Nityananda, kind of parental affection, they couldn't understand what Lord Nityananda was saying. So in that way, he was having this pastimes and acting of Krishna Lila, Ram Lila, kind of enjoying himself, going through various moods and of Lord Nityananda, of Lord Balaram. And then, just not long before his 13th birthday, the sannyasi came to Ekachakra. And it was a culture, and it was supposed to be that kind of culture, which of course is largely lost now, that when the sannyasi comes, saintly person, then you try to serve them to best of your ability. So he visited Hade Pandit's home, and Hade Pandit he, served to the best ability. The sannyasi offered everything what he could. And then you also ask, after his visit, when he wanted to depart, after a while, he asked, is there anything I can give you for your trip? And the sannyasi said, I would like to uh, have your son Nityananda as my assistant. And that really struck Gadai Pandit. It was a whole big drama that they went through together with his wife. But because he was, saintly person himself, he had this honor, he had this that he would fulfill the commitment to serve this holy person, holy man, and therefore he gave Lord Nityananda for the sannyasi. And then Lord Nityananda traveled all around India to holy places with the sannyasi, and then at some point on his own as well. And then Ekachakra Hade Pandit, soon after that, he departed in separation from his son. The whole village actually become quite deserted. And of course, this is one of the pastimes of the Lord to increase the love of his devotees by separation, because his associates, they are in Ekachakra, they were eternal associates of the Lord. So they experience this love in separation after Lord Nityananda has departed. So then he traveled many holy places, and then at some point he visited Vrindavan, and he was in so much ecstasy, remembering Krishna. He was crying, "Where is Krishna?" And he was remembering the Krishna's pastimes. And there is a place actually that I had a fortune to visit in Vrindavan called Shringarvat. This is not so far from Radha Damodar temple, and Shyamasundar temple is kind of off. There's a road that heads towards Yamuna, and if you turn left at one point, there's a Shringarvat where Lord Nityananda and meditate on Krishna and wait actually for Lord Chaitanya to appear. It's a very simple place. There is just like there's a big tree. There's a place where Lord Nityananda used to sit, and I think there's a small shrine with just a small tiny shrine. I can't remember if the small Radha Krishna deities are there or not. But yeah, had the fortune to go there and beg for the mercy of Lord Nityananda. So then at one point, Lord Nityananda had the realization that Lord Chaitanya now reached a certain age. He was actually 20 years old. There were 12 years difference between when Lord Nityananda appeared and Lord Chaitanya appeared 12 years later. So at that time, Lord Nityananda was 32 years old, and Lord Chaitanya was 20. When Nityananda he was in Shringarvat when he had this realization. This is the time now to join Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, to assist him in his mission. And then he left for Navadvip. And then when he reached Navadvip, he hid himself in Nandanacharya's house. And Lord Chaitanya had a dream just day before with this beautiful white personality dressed in a blue clothing, because that's how Lord Balaram dresses. He's got a blue dhoti, and it looked extremely beautiful. And that he was sitting on a chariot, and he was kept asking, "Is this a house of Nimai Pandit? Is this a house of Nimai Pandit?" So he kept asking this question. And then Lord Chaitanya, when he woke up, he realized, no, Lord Nityananda is here. So he sent Haridas Thakur with someone. I can't remember who went with Haridas Thakur. Anybody remembers? So they went, he sent to find Lord Nityananda, and they looked everywhere and they couldn't find him. Then Lord Chaitanya himself, he knew where he is hiding. And they went to Nandanacharya's house. There's a description of their beautiful meeting when they kind of fainted in each other's embrace, and he had so much love and affection and tears. It was this unbelievable exchange of love and affection, reuniting, these two beautiful brothers, eternal associates, who always are with each other, but they had this, a good few years separation from each other. Shishikodanitaya Maya Purusha Shiki Jai Shri Nityananda Ram Prabhu Ki So yeah, then Lord Nityananda joined. That mission of Lord Chaitanya in the beginning in Navadvip, and then Nityananda had this very interesting mood of that is called avaduta. It was a very often, according to the standards of modern day, it would be considered unusual behavior. But often he would manifest this, even he was already 32 and over years old, he would manifest a mood of like a young cowherd boy, like a few years old cowherd boy. So sometimes he would behave in that kind of way. It's described that at times he would ride crocodiles, and, jump into the river. He was completely fearless. So this kind of thing. I just saw that SHS guys has arrived, and I forgot to unlock the ashram. Is in my. Can you pass my jacket? The key is in my jacket. Sorry for that. Sorry. So yeah, he had this very unusual behavior, and sometimes he would approach like a small girl and ask to marry her, that kind of thing. So this is called avaduta. So yeah, they had the various pastimes of spreading Krishna consciousness. Lord Chaitanya expanded his mission and took sannyas. Yeah, they moved together as well to Jagannath Puri for a little while. Lord Chaitanya went traveling around South India. So when he came back, Lord Nityananda had established a very nice community there in Lord Chaitanya's absence in Jagannath Puri. But then the mission in Bengal was neglected. So Lord Chaitanya then asked Lord Nityananda to come back to Bengal and to kind of revive the mission and spread Krishna consciousness there. So Lord Nityananda went back there, and many people introduced to Krishna consciousness. Many Buddhist people become thousands, is described somewhere. There's thousands of Buddhist people become followers of Lord Nityananda, became devotees. So he was very successful there, and at one some point he decided to abandon his avaduta status and get married, and he married to Vasudha and Janava, who were daughters of Surya Das. Sarakeli is a great devotee of the Lord. And they have a natural love and affection for Lord Nityananda, and they are considered incarnations of eternal associates of Lord Balaram, which is Revati. And what is the other name? Revati and Let's have a look. And Varuni. Varuni, should I remember that? And Revati and Varuni are eternal associates of Lord Balaram. So that was Janava and Vasudha. So he had one son called Virabhadra, who was incarnation of one of the quadruple expansions, I think. So it's very, very powerful. Virabhadra, I believe he had at times like 72 hours kirtans and that kind of thing. It was like unbelievable devotee of the Lord. So yeah, that was his household pastimes. And there is one acharya who says, if you see Lord Nityananda in some place, which is kind of in the translation would be equivalent of like a pub, that you know that he's there delivering the fallen conditioned souls. He's not there to enjoy himself, but he's there to deliver people who are stuck in this material existence. So in his Sankirtan pastimes, he was so merciful and so kind. He was delivering the most fallen, like that he delivered Jaga and Madai. And of course, often in our dramas we depict Jaga and Madai as some kind of funny rascals, and have a fun out of them. But actually, they were like a really heavy criminals, according to the modern language, would consider like a terrorist type of people. They were like a raping and they're thieves, and they had a strong influence that like a police type of people of at that day they couldn't do anything about them. So Lord Nityananda has very kindly delivered those to show that this Krishna consciousness is for everyone, no matter how one may be fallen, unqualified, etc., no matter what kind of anarthas they may have, that this mercy of Lord Nityananda is available for everyone. And one another pastime that Lord Nityananda enacted when he went back actually to back to West Bengal, actually established his center to begin with in Panihati. So in Panihati, this is where Raghunatha Das Goswami met Lord Chaitanya for the first time. And he was already very much attracted to Lord Chaitanya, but he just, I don't know whether he was already running away at the time. I believe he was starting to run away. But at one point, you received a message, that you will receive my mercy in due course. Don't be a monkey renunciate, just keep running away. When the time will come, you receive Lord the mercy and you can join my movement. And that was the very crucial point, actually, for us to understand that Raghunatha Das Goswami received the mercy of Lord Chaitanya only after receiving the mercy of Lord Nityananda. So when Raghunatha Das Goswami came, he offered obeisances from the big distance to Lord Nityananda. And Lord Nityananda shouted at him, "Who is this thief offering obeisances from far away? Please come here." He said, "Now you're going to have to receive a punishment for your thievery. You have to feed all the Vaishnavas with this chipped rice and yogurt, with sweet chipped rice and yogurt." And so Lord Raghunatha Das Goswami, whose parents were extremely rich, he arranged this big festival. He bought all the bananas in the neighboring village market, all the yogurt, all the chipped rice, and then invited all the different sadhus to come. And there was hundreds and hundreds of people coming to that place in Panihati to honor this prasadam that was offered to the Lord. And then after they all honored prasadam to their full satisfaction, it's described that Lord Chaitanya was somewhere else. He was actually in Jagannath Puri, because at that time he was a sannyasi basing himself in Jagannath Puri. Lord Chaitanya appeared in kind of invisible form and also took part in a festival. And nobody could see him apart of Lord Nityananda and a couple other devotees who were very confidential, and including, I believe, Raghunatha Das Goswami also saw Lord Chaitanya there. Lord Chaitanya was taking prasadam there as well. So in that way, by serving the Vaishnavas, Raghunatha Das Goswami received the mercy, and not so long after that, he was able to leave home and join Lord Chaitanya's movement, and he moved to join the six Goswamis. He went first to Jagannath Puri, and he served under Swarup Damodar Goswami. So this is one of the most fundamental principles of how to get Lord Nityananda's mercy. And the same was actually with Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. Before they met Lord Chaitanya, they first met Lord Nityananda, and Lord Nityananda took to see Lord Chaitanya and Rama Kelly. So this is the principle. We cannot get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya without Lord Nityananda's mercy, and we cannot get the mercy of Radha and Krishna without Lord Chaitanya's mercy too. So this is the chain that we have to follow, because we are so unqualified in Kali Yuga. We need so much mercy, and that mercy on Lord Nityananda, who delivered even Jaga and Madai. And it's considered that there is so many Jagas and Madais in the modern day, but it gives us a hope that no matter how unqualified we may be, then in fact the more disqualified we are, in one sense, the more Lord Nityananda is merciful to us, because he really wants to glorify Lord Chaitanya as the Patita Pavana Gaura Hari, as the deliverer of the most fallen. So you may feel that we have so many disqualifications, but that disqualification can become our qualification, just like Narottam Das Thakur says, because I'm the most fallen, then my claim is first to receive the mercy. So Lord Nityananda is so merciful, and but at the same time we have to beg for that mercy. If we think that everything is fantastic, I don't need anything. I heard this thing yesterday, that in the beginning of Krishna consciousness, we may feel that I just can achieve things just by my own efforts, and I just get this mercy and love of God just by my own efforts. But not so long after, that kind of controlling propensity becomes removed from us by mercy of the Lord. We realize that we are not the supreme controller, and we will be struggling to achieve that mercy. But then there is this time when it can become a bit critical as well of others, because we are not achieving mercy, and we become critical of others. Maybe they're not achieving mercy as well, because we see the world through our own false ego. And this is actually psychologically recorded, that is not only in Krishna consciousness movement, but in general, a new convert, it tends to be critical of the other people. They compare them with some higher ideals. In all different traditions, there's this high ideal of saintly person. So a newcomer doesn't match that high ideal, but then it tends to compare. Instead of comparing oneself with that higher ideal, it tends to compare others with that high ideal, and criticize, become very critical of others, that they are not matching that high ideal. But after going through that stage, the next stage is to realize that we need the mercy. We need the mercy of the Lord. We need the mercy of the devotees in order to advance. And of course, we need to make an effort. But by that effort, we try to qualify ourselves to receive the mercy. And the service attitude is so important. And the respect, to the senior devotees is so important. And of course, I'm myself failing very much into this, but I'm learning that is a very, very important and significant aspect in Krishna consciousness, is to honor Vaishnavas and to serve them and make friends with those who are on an equal platform, and show compassion to those who are not as advanced as us. So So to the service, and this is what spiritual master is teaching, Lord Nityananda is teaching, to the service to the Vaishnavas, we can receive the mercy of Lord Nityananda, and to, of course, sharing Krishna consciousness. Adokshita Krishna covered this point of sharing Krishna consciousness, worshipping Lord Chaitanya, sharing the holy name of Lord Chaitanya, we receive the mercy. So I just wanted to touch on the service attitude aspect that is very, very significant to attract Lord Nityananda's mercy. And that actually what won Jagai and Madai, when Madai hid with a pot Lord Nityananda's head and he started bleeding and he wanted to hit again actually, then Jagai has stopped Madai and he says, what you doing? Stop this. And so when Lord Chaitanya appeared there to cut the head of Madai, then Lord Nityananda said, or actually cut the head of both of them. Lord Nityananda said, no, Jagai tried to protect me, don't kill him. And then Lord Chaitanya said, okay, I'm gonna spare him, but I'm gonna definitely cut the head off of Madai. And he said, everybody's in Kali Yuga is like this, you will have to kill everyone if you kill Madai. You should forgive him. He said, okay, but they have to become a humble Vaishnavas and serve humbly the devotees. And this is how they spent for all the heinous activities that they did, the atonement that they had. And of course, we know, in Krishna consciousness, we don't do this thing of atonement, but we actually, what we do is repentance. Because we did this, the fact that we were born in Kali Yuga, that means we did so many activities and before coming to Krishna consciousness in the previous lives that are not so nice, and that bears a lot of bad karma and a lot of suffering involved. So we should understand, that we're receiving this mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, but the way to repay is actually to serve the Vaishnavas, and often it means that if we didn't complete our Krishna consciousness in the past life, it's either to the lax in sadhana or due to some offense. So therefore we need to try our best to serve Vaishnavas humbly. We've been given this chance to advance and achieve complete perfection in this one lifetime. But we need to keep this humble service attitude and serve the devotees. And even there's this principles that has been crystallized by Bhaktivinoda Thakur as the three most important principles, and is Harinam Ruchi, Vaishnav Seva, and Jiva Doya. So Vaishnav Seva, so these three principles, Vaishnav Seva, serving the devotees, is one of the most fundamental of these three principles and our entire philosophy. And by that Vaishnav Seva, we get Harinam Ruchi. We get the taste for chanting, and as soon as we get the taste, this is how we give up the attraction to material existence, to material world, to lust, is by getting a higher taste. Otherwise it's very difficult, because the living entity needs pleasure. So this is how we get, this is what Lord Nityananda gives. By receiving his mercy, we become free from material desires. And that is considered one special mercy that he gives. You become free from material desires. And in that Kabya Habya Balase, there's this part where it says, when Lord Nityananda show mercy upon me, when will I reject the world of Maya? Bestow unto me the shade of your lotus feet, let the right to preach the name be mine. So this is the prayer of devotee. Let me give up this attachment to material world, and please empower me to share this Krishna consciousness, share the holy name. So this is what we need to beg today from Lord Nityananda, for this mercy, that we remain engaged in the service of devotees, and that we gain this higher taste for Krishna consciousness by this service, and that we become free from material desires. So all the different types of obstacles become removed on our path towards our eternal service in Goloka Vrindavan to Radha and Krishna. And there is also 12 names of Lord Nityananda As described that if one recites 12 names, only takes 10 seconds or 20 seconds. If you recite 12 names of Lord Nityananda, then all the obstacles on your spiritual path will become removed. And one's various cherished desires in Krishna consciousness will become fulfilled, and one soon will attain the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. I've been reciting actually those 12 names of Lord Nityananda for maybe 15 years, and it definitely helps. Definitely helps in Krishna consciousness. And also there is a 108 names of Lord Nityananda. If anybody's got time to recite them today by recitation as well, one's spiritual desire, we shouldn't ask for anything material, of course. But one's spiritual desire becomes fulfilled by reciting 108 names of Lord Nityananda. So stop here if there's any quick question or comment about this. Jai. Finish here. Shri Nityananda Ram Prabhu ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande. Hari Hari.
Yeah.